For as long as we've existed, we have told ourselves one simple lie, that we are important. We map the stars, build machines, split atoms, and tell ourselves that we are the pinnacle of intelligence, the masters of our world, the architects of knowledge itself. But that belief, that illusion of superiority, only exists because we have never seen what stands above us. Imagine an ant crawling across a highway. It does not understand the concrete beneath its feet, nor the cars that rush past in blurs of metal and speed. It does not comprehend the cities beyond, the satellites above, or the digital networks humming invisibly through the air. It lives and dies in ignorance, completely unaware that it is nothing. Now replace that ant with us. We look into the abyss of space, searching for something lesser, microbes on a distant moon, bacteria beneath an alien sea. But never do we ask the one question that truly matters. Where do we stand in the hierarchy of the universe? Because if there are beings above us, if there are civilizations that have ascended beyond our feeble comprehension, then everything we have built, everything we have discovered, and everything we have ever been amounts to nothing. And the terrifying truth? The lowest life forms never see the apex predators until it's too late. For centuries, we have gazed at the stars and imagined ourselves as conquerors of the cosmos. We tell ourselves that we are intelligent, that we are advanced. We build towers that scrape the sky, machines that crack the surface of the moon, and spacecraft that wander into the darkness beyond our world. But in the grand scheme of the universe, we are nothing more than fire makers in the abyss, primitive beings playing with sparks, while titanic civilizations may already wield the fires of creation itself. This is the Kardashev Scale, a classification system that measures a civilization's technological advancement based on its ability to harness energy. It is a ladder of cosmic power, a scale of unimaginable progression, where each step represents a leap so vast that to the beings above, those below may seem like nothing more than bacteria crawling across a forgotten rock. And right now, we are not even on the first step. Before we even begin to talk about advanced civilizations, we must acknowledge an uncomfortable truth. We are not yet a Type 1 civilization. A Type Y civilization is capable of harnessing all the energy available on its home planet. That means controlling hurricanes, redirecting ocean currents, and mastering the very forces of nature. It means tapping into the full power of our world, not just through fossil fuels or nuclear energy, but through the limitless potential of the Earth itself. And yet, as we stand here today, humanity is barely scratching the surface. We burn ancient dead organisms for fuel. We struggle to contain nuclear reactions. We still depend on unpredictable weather patterns, geological instability, and resources that we waste with reckless abandon. Carl Sagan once estimated that humanity sits at around 0.72 on the Kardashev Scale, far from even reaching Type 1. If we do not destroy ourselves first, we may achieve this milestone within a few hundred years. But even then, we will only be at the very beginning. A true Type 1 civilization would have complete control over their planet's energy. Every storm, every earthquake, every volcanic eruption, harnessed and redirected like a mere tool. A Type 1 species would have the ability to engineer their own world, sculpting their environment to fit their needs with effortless precision. Imagine a world where hurricanes are no longer disasters but energy farms, their raw power converted into an endless supply of electricity. Imagine cities fueled by the very core of the planet, where seismic activity is stabilized and used as an infinite power source. A civilization at this level would be able to control global temperatures, manage climate, and prevent planetary scale catastrophes before they even begin. This would be the true dawn of a planetary civilization, one where energy is no longer a limitation, but a force to be bent at will. But for those who reach this point, the hunger for power does not end. If a species survives this transition, there is only one logical next step: harnessing not just the energy of their planet, but the power of their star. If a species survives long enough to surpass Type 1, their ambitions must expand beyond their planet. The next step is a Type 2 civilization, a species capable of capturing and utilizing the full energy output of their star. To put this into perspective, the total power consumption of Earth is around 18 terawatts. The Sun, by comparison, produces 384.6 yottawatts, over 20 trillion times more energy than what we currently use. A civilization that could tap into this would possess unlimited power, capable of sustaining themselves indefinitely. How would they do this? One of the most famous concepts is the Dyson sphere, a megastructure built around a star, designed to capture and store its immense energy output. Imagine an enormous shell or swarm of satellites completely enclosing a sun, transforming it into a controlled power source. But why stop at one star? A Type 2 civilization might be capable of engineering entire solar systems, moving planets into ideal orbits, and using the gravitational power of their sun to manipulate space itself. They might be able to terraform dead worlds, bringing life to planets that were once barren. At this point, they would be gods compared to us. A single member of their species might hold more power in their hands than all of human civilization combined. And yet, this is still not the peak, because beyond the stars there are entire galaxies waiting to be conquered. To a Type 3 civilization, stars are no longer mysteries. They are tools. A Type 3 species has achieved the ability to control and manipulate an entire galaxy. Every star, every planet, every resource within their galactic home is at their disposal. This is the level at which a civilization ceases to be a planetary species and becomes a cosmic force. They might travel between stars at will, harnessing black holes as energy sources, bending space-time itself to shorten distances that were once incomprehensible. But here's where things get terrifying. Would we even recognize a Type 3 civilization if we saw one? At this level, a species may become entirely machine-based, shedding biological limitations in favor of an immortal, self-replicating intelligence. They may merge into a single vast consciousness, a network of interconnected minds spanning the stars. They may not even need planets anymore. What use would a planetary surface be to a species that can live in the vacuum of space, fueled by the energy of entire solar systems? A Type 3 civilization would be unknowable to us. We would be less than ants in comparison, incapable of even perceiving their existence. And yet, even here, there is another step. If a Type 3 species can control a galaxy, what would a Type 4 civilization be capable of? This is where the boundaries of reality begin to blur. A Type 4 species would be so advanced that they could manipulate dark matter and dark energy, the unseen forces that shape the very fabric of the universe. They might be able to travel between dimensions, create entire star systems at will, or exist in a form that defies our comprehension. They would be indistinguishable from gods. But there is one final level, a level so extreme that even calling it a civilization might be incorrect. A Type 5 civilization would be capable of controlling the very laws of physics themselves. They could rewrite the fundamental rules of the universe, bending time, space, and reality to their will. They might exist outside of time itself, moving freely between past, present, and future. They might be the creators of universes, spawning entire realities as effortlessly as we light a match. And here's the most unsettling thought of all. What if we are already inside the creation of a Type 5 civilization? What if our entire universe is nothing more than an experiment, a simulation, a controlled environment crafted by beings so powerful that we can never hope to perceive them? What if we are not merely the least advanced species in the universe, but prisoners in a reality we will never understand? The Kardashev Scale is more than just a measure of power. It is a window into the possible futures of intelligent life. If humanity survives long enough, we may one day climb this ladder. We may build Dyson spheres, control galaxies, and venture beyond the limits of what we currently understand. But as we gaze up at the stars, we must ask ourselves, if Type 3, 4, and 5 civilizations exist, why haven't we seen them? Are they hiding? Are they watching? Or are they so far beyond us that we will never even realize they were here? The answers may be out there, but one thing is certain. If we are the least advanced civilization in the universe, what happens when the others finally notice us? Imagine something watching you right now, not from a distance, not from behind a screen or through a telescope, but from everywhere, at once. An intelligence so vast, so omnipotent, that it does not need eyes or ears to perceive you. It simply knows. A being beyond time, beyond space, beyond the limits of what we understand as reality itself. A Type Phi civilization, not merely existing within the universe, but existing as the universe. Now ask yourself, what if it's watching us right now? The concept of an all-seeing, all-knowing force is something that has existed in human culture for thousands of years. Every major civilization, from the ancient Egyptians to modern religions, has envisioned godlike beings who oversee creation. But what if these myths were not just stories? What if a Type 5 civilization has already achieved omnipresence, a state of existence where it can observe every event, every thought, every movement across the cosmos in real time? To us, such an entity would be beyond detection. We rely on sensory perception, on technology that is primitive in comparison. A Type 5 intelligence could monitor the universe on a level so intricate that it could see the shifting of subatomic particles, track the evolution of galaxies, or watch entire civilizations rise and fall in what it perceives as mere moments. We would have no way of knowing, no possible method to detect its presence, and perhaps that is the point. One of the most chilling theories regarding advanced civilizations is the zoo hypothesis, the idea that extraterrestrial beings, far superior to us, are deliberately avoiding contact, not because they do not know we exist, but because they are observing us from a distance, as scientists observing a species in its natural habitat. If a Type 5 civilization exists, it would not need to interfere with us directly. Instead, it could be watching us, monitoring our progress, studying our behaviors like researchers watching microbial life through a microscope. Consider this. We have never detected direct signs of extraterrestrial intelligence. What if this is intentional? What if revealing themselves would disrupt an experiment? What if humanity is nothing more than an unfolding process being carefully observed, analyzed, and, when necessary, manipulated? And if this is the case, one terrifying question arises. What happens when the experiment is complete? There is another, even more unsettling possibility, one that physicists, philosophers, and scientists have debated for years. The idea that we are not just being observed by a Type 5 civilization. We are inside their simulation. Think about the sheer computational power required to simulate an entire universe, galaxies, stars, planets, living beings with thoughts, emotions, and consciousness. To us, This seems impossible, but to a civilization that has transcended the laws of physics, that can manipulate space-time itself, creating an entire simulated existence would be no more difficult than a human running a basic computer program. Consider this: quantum mechanics and the observer effect. Science has shown that particles behave differently when they are being observed. What if this is not a glitch, but a deliberate feature of our universe? Evidence that we are inside a program designed to react to observation. The Fermi paradox. The universe should be teeming with advanced civilizations, yet we find nothing. What if the reason we don't see them is because they exist outside our simulation? Mathematical structure of reality. Some physicists have noted that our universe appears to be governed by strict mathematical principles, as if it were coded rather than naturally occurring. A Type 5 civilization would not be bound by the same constraints we are. To them, our universe might be nothing more than a sandbox simulation, a controlled environment crafted to test certain variables. Perhaps we are an experiment, perhaps we are entertainment, or perhaps we are something far more insignificant, a forgotten piece of code running in the background of a reality so vast that our entire existence is meaningless. And if that's the case, who is running the program? Here is the most disturbing possibility of all. What if a Type 5 civilization is not elsewhere in the universe, but right here surrounding us, permeating our reality, so advanced that we simply cannot perceive them? We are bound by limitations. Our eyes can only see a fraction of the electromagnetic spectrum. Our brains can only process a limited amount of information. We experience time as a linear progression, because that is how our biology is wired. But what if there are beings who exist outside of these limitations? A Type 5 civilization could exist in dimensions beyond our comprehension. It could interact with reality in ways that we would never be able to detect. To them, we would be less than shadows, two-dimensional beings trapped in a world of 3 dimensions, unable to perceive what lies beyond. If such entities exist, they could be interwoven into the fabric of space-time itself, existing in higher dimensional spaces that we cannot access, communicating in ways that bypass human understanding. And if they are here, what do they think of us? Would they see us as intelligent beings? Would they see us as primitive, insignificant, or perhaps even dangerous? Or are we so far beneath them that they do not even recognize us as conscious at all? The Kardashev Scale paints a picture of civilizations that ascend through levels of cosmic power, reaching heights where they can manipulate galaxies, rewrite physics, and perhaps even shape the very nature of reality. But the terrifying truth is this: we do not know what is out there. We do not know if we are being watched. We do not know if we are inside a simulation. We do not know if beings exist all around us, undetectable to our primitive senses. But if they do, what happens when they decide to make contact? What happens when they finally notice us? For centuries, humanity has looked up at the stars, wondering if we are alone. But maybe we've been asking the wrong question. What if we aren't alone? What if we never were? What if something out there already knows about us? And it's just been waiting. There's a reason you don't stop to introduce yourself to an anthill. You don't debate philosophy with insects. You don't ask their permission before stepping over them. Not because you hate them, simply because their existence is so far beneath your own that they don't even register as something worth acknowledging. Now imagine a civilization so advanced that we are the ants. A Type 5 civilization wouldn't just be ahead of us in technology. They would be so far beyond us that we might not even qualify as intelligent life in their eyes. To them, we might be nothing more than primitive organisms crawling on a speck of dust in a vast, incomprehensible cosmos. And if that's the case, what happens when they finally do take notice? Human history is filled with encounters between civilizations of unequal power. Time and time again, the weaker civilization is absorbed, enslaved, or wiped out entirely. And when it comes to interstellar civilizations, the gap between us and a Type 5 entity wouldn't just be a difference in technology, it would be the difference between existence and non-existence. Consider this. They might not see us as intelligent at all. They might view us the way we see bacteria. Life, yes, but nothing worth preserving. They might have reasons to erase us before we become a problem. If a Type 5 civilization ever decides that Earth is no longer necessary, we wouldn't even know it happened. No war, no warning. Just a quiet, effortless erasure, like deleting a file from a computer. One moment, we exist. The next, we don't. And maybe that's already happened to other civilizations before us. But what if they aren't hostile? What if they're watching us, waiting? Not to destroy, but to see what we become. Maybe there is a reason no advanced civilization has contacted us. Maybe there is a universal threshold, a test every species must pass before they are allowed to take their next evolutionary step. What if intelligence isn't the final measure of worth? What if the real test is something we don't yet understand? Maybe it's a test of time, to see if we can survive long enough without destroying ourselves. Maybe it's a test of unity, to see if we can move beyond war and self-destruction. Maybe it's a test of perception, to see if we can even recognize them before they reveal themselves. And what if we are failing? What if the reason we don't see other civilizations is that they all failed the test before us? What if the universe is littered with the ruins of species that reached our level and were erased before they could advance further? And what if we are next? If we truly are one of the least advanced civilizations in the cosmos, then everything we've ever known, our history, our struggles, our triumphs, means nothing in the grand scale of the universe. But one thing is certain. One day they will notice us. Maybe they already have. Maybe they are waiting for us to reach the next stage. Or maybe we were never meant to reach it at all. And when that moment comes, we won't be asking if we're alone. We'll be asking, what happens now? If this video made you question everything, then you're in the right place. Uncharted. Odyssey is all about diving into the unknown, uncovering the secrets of the universe, and pushing the boundaries of what we think is possible. So if you haven't already, subscribe now, because the journey has only just begun.